Now, I recently reviewed the Surface Laptop Studio and the Surface Pro 8, two major announcements here from Microsoft here in 2021, and I like them both, although I'm more partial towards the form factor on that Surface Pro 8. If you didn't check out those reviews, links will be in the description below. But Microsoft also announced another device, a follow-up to last year's Surface Duo, a multitasking productivity device, or maybe even a phone as some might use it, which is of course the Surface Duo 2, and I have it right here. This Surface Duo 2 is a major improvement across the board pretty much over last year's Surface Duo. And last year's Duo was more of a first-gen product. This is a more polished, more refined product, and I think Microsoft is on the right path to making this an excellent device. Hey everybody, it's Andrew, and this is my review of the Surface Duo 2 here for 2021. Coming up.
And before we begin, I want to let everybody know, in the interest of transparency and full disclosure, I'm not being paid by Microsoft. I'm not being sponsored by Microsoft. All the opinions you're about to hear are my own. Microsoft is not getting copy approval. That means they're seeing this video for the first time, just like you. Now, this unit was purchased with my own money. I did not receive a review unit from Microsoft. Pricing for the Surface Duo 2 starts at $1,499. For those interested, check out that link below for more information and where you can buy one. Microsoft made a lot of significant improvements over last year's first-gen product. And speaking of last year's product, God knows those improvements needed to be made. But with all the improvements made this time around, it comes at a higher starting price. Yes, this comes in at $100 more than last year's model. And being the cheapskate that I am, I'm not happy about that. And with specs and pricing out of the way, let's find out what you get inside the box. Let's open it up. Lifting the lid, you're greeted by the unit itself. We'll get to that in just a little bit, but let's find out what else you get inside the box. You get a USB-C charging cable, but unfortunately, you don't get a charger in the box. That's a bit disappointing. You get some documentation, including warranty information and a SIM ejection tool. And unlike last year's model, no bumper included this time around. And speaking of the bumper, that is a separate purchase this time around, and at a very hefty $40. Not sure if it's quite worth it, especially since you don't get too much coverage on the unit. In fact, it only covers the sides of the unit. Holding the unit for the first time, first thing that comes to mind, this is super premium. I love the gorgeous color here. We're looking at the obsidian, but you could also get it in the glacier color like you could last year. The front is covered in Gorilla Glass Victus, and the back is covered in Gorilla Glass as well. On the right side is the power button, which also doubles as a fingerprint scanner. Setup was easy and worked very well, very responsive. And above that is your volume rocker up and down. The buttons feel premium and have good tactile feedback. And on the other side is the glance bar. That'll give you your charge indicator when you plug it in, letting you know how much charge is left on the device. It also gives you the time, missed calls, and missed messages. And we now have a more reinforced USB-C port. That's good. And above that is a SIM tray, and it now supports 5G. And you now have NFC, which was sorely missing from last year's model. And it's put on a little bit of weight at 284 grams or 10.02 ounces. This is definitely a little bit more thicker and a little bit heavier than last year's model. And it easily slips in the pocket, as you see here. And we now have curvature on the displays, showing less separation than last year's Surface Duo. But it is still noticeable nonetheless. And having the camera bump on the back means you're not going to have it sit flush when it's folded like you see here. Now, a lot of improvements when it comes to the displays. We now have dual 90 Hz displays, giving a more smooth scrolling experience. It'll be better for gaming. It's an overall better experience. And of course, as I mentioned, they're now curved, so you see less of that divider in the middle. Not totally eliminating it, as it's still very noticeable, but much better than last year's Surface Duo. In addition to the higher refresh rate, these also are very bright displays coming in at 800 nits, so this is going to be good for both indoor and outdoor use. And as I mentioned earlier, it's also compatible with the Slim Pen 2. Now, I did look at the Slim Pen 2 in my reviews of both the Surface Laptop Studio and the Surface Pro 8. Now, unlike those devices, this doesn't have the haptic feedback compatibility, at least not yet. So a lot of the functionality is not there yet, but you can take notes, you can sketch out artwork. It worked pretty well with apps such as OneNote, which I expected to work well with. And I thought it worked pretty good. Now, as far as the pen, it's a separate accessory, as I mentioned, so you will have to buy that separately, not included in the box, which is unfortunate, especially at this price point. But having said that, I think it's a worthwhile accessory if you want to take notes on the go. If you want to have something ready to go out of your pocket, this will get the job done. And you can stick the pen magnetically to the front of the device, and I thought the magnetic connection was pretty secure as well. And there's that optional pen holder case that Microsoft will produce at $65 as a separate accessory that allows you to store and charge the pen with that cover. And rumor has it, it will be available starting this week. Now, Microsoft decided to go with a triple camera setup on the back, a 16 megapixel ultra-wide lens, a 12 megapixel primary wide lens, and a 12 megapixel telephoto lens, all with optical image stabilization. And as you can see from these results, actually it's pretty good and a big improvement over last year's Surface Duo. And to say it is a big improvement is an understatement because these are very usable photos, whereas last year wasn't quite good. It was actually pretty bad. And I actually thought the night mode did pretty well on this device, and here it is next to the Pixel 6 Pro. In terms of that night shot, I will have a review on the Pixel 6 Pro dropping very soon, so stay tuned for that. But night mode on this was actually pretty good.
So this is the 4K 60 video on the new Surface Duo 2 with optical image stabilization. Let me know what you think about it in the comment section below. The sun is starting to go down a little bit here in Las Vegas. Taking a walk along the path. Let's see how the video quality is, how's the audio quality, how's the stabilization. Again, let me know. I'm actually in Desert Shores community, and they have some really nice lakes here. Very, very picturesque, I think. And as you can see, my house is undergoing some pretty major renovations. As you can see, I don't have a kitchen right now, but that will change very, very soon. I will show you the house when it's done and my updated studio. So stay tuned, that will be coming very soon. But I wanted to show you some indoor shots as well. So this is the Surface Duo 2 indoors. Again, let me know what you think about it in that comment section below. So this is the selfie camera on the Surface Duo 2. Let me know what you think about the video quality. What do you think about the audio quality? Let me know.
Now that 12 megapixel selfie camera is good for video conferencing. I think it will get the job done, that's for sure. And here it is next to the Pixel 6 Pro as far as its selfie camera. Let me know what you think about it. And so far, performance is significantly improved over last year's Surface Duo, and that's because this is powered by the Snapdragon 888, a much better processor that was found in last year's Surface Duo. And there's no question that navigating through the OS is much more smooth and fluid than it was last year. And again, a more powerful processor certainly helps, having 8 gigabytes of RAM. Now, I also have the 128 gigabytes of onboard storage, but of course you can opt to get more. And of course, you'll pay a price for that as well. And having that extra display means when you're going to do games such as the one you see here, it's going to take advantage of that second screen, making for a better gaming experience. And so far, I've been very impressed. And having the two displays makes it a great multitasking tool, especially for productivity. For instance, I can have Outlook open on, say, the left pane, and then I could have YouTube open on the right if I need to see a video. So you can get a lot of work done, especially having those two displays. And you could throw the apps between the two displays pretty easily. And I thought it's more optimized and worked well, especially with the better processing power than it had in the first generation Surface Duo from last year. And you could also span an app across both displays, but you will notice that divider in the middle. But it might be useful in certain scenarios, so it's good to have that option. Now, audio is another area where we see big improvements. We now have stereo speakers. There are 2 speakers here, and I thought the volume was pretty decent, hint of bass, and it actually filled up the room pretty nicely. Overall, a much bigger improvement over last year's Surface Duo. Kudos to Microsoft. And we now have a bigger battery. It's a 4,449 milliamp hour battery. And at the end of the day, after doing my normal use on a smartphone, I got about 15% left at the end of the day. On average, I've seen about 5 hours of screen on time for the past week. So overall, pretty good and improvement over last year's Surface Duo. Now, it does support fast charging, but unfortunately, it doesn't support wireless charging, a bit of a miss on Microsoft's part. Okay, let's bring it all home. What do I think about the new and improved Surface Duo 2 here for 2021? And I gotta say, I'm really, really liking it, especially over last year's Surface Duo, which I guess is not saying much since that really needed a lot of work. And I think Microsoft put in all the right changes, made all the right moves here for this Surface Duo 2. They now have a fast, fluid, larger 90 hertz dual displays, improved performance with that Snapdragon 888. We now have 5G, we got NFC, and we also have that super premium hardware, especially with this gorgeous obsidian finish on it. I absolutely love it, although it will show a lot of smudges. Now, you also have the improved cameras, especially that triple camera setup on the back, much better than last year's, and it's certainly usable here in 2021. In fact, in certain lighting conditions, I thought it was excellent. Now, it also is more expensive this time around, coming in with $100 more in terms of that starting price. I'm not a big fan of that. The occasional bugs are still there, but not quite as bad as last year's Surface Duo, so we made some progress, and with some updates, I'm sure that will improve over time. No wireless charging to me is a little bit of a miss here. I definitely think here in 2021, there's no reason not to have that. And again, it is limited pen functionality with that Slim Pen 2, but I think with a series of updates, that should change over time as well. Now, if history is any indication, Microsoft usually needs 3 tries before it gets a device right. Well, I gotta say, the second try is actually looking pretty good, and it's a good indicator that they are going in the right direction. I can't wait to see what the Surface Duo 3 is in store for next year. But in the meantime, this is a much improved product, and it's a great productivity tool that I highly recommend. That is, if you could stomach the high price tag.
So what do you think about this bad boy, the Surface Duo 2? Pretty much an improvement across the board over last year's first-gen product, the Surface Duo, which I liked. I liked the concept, of course. It needed refinement, and that's exactly what we got with this one. We now have bigger displays. We now have brighter dual displays, of course, which are 90 hertz, so you're going to get that higher refresh rate, a more fluid scrolling experience. It'll be better for gaming and better for productivity in general. We now have a bigger battery. I'm seeing about 5 hours of screen on time on this, and it's working really great. But what I love is the fact that you have these dual displays, so I can have one app open on the left, another app open on the right display. For instance, I can look at my email and Outlook while I can browse the web in Chrome. And you think you get the idea. So it's a really nice productivity tool, especially for that business user who is on the go and needs to be able to take it right out of the pocket and get things going. Now, there is a camera bump on the back. That's because we have improved cameras here. Triple camera setup on the back. Really great improvement over last year's offering. Much better selfie camera this time around as well. An overall improvement when it comes to the cameras. And I'm loving the color on this. This is the obsidian black, although you will notice smudges on it pretty easily, but when it is clean, absolutely gorgeous. But you could also get it in the glacier finish, which you of course could get last year. Also very nice. Now we have this covered now in Gorilla Glass Victus on the front, Gorilla Glass on the back. So really good protection on that front. Now the $40 bumper case, to me, not really worth it. You don't really get too much coverage in terms of protection. You do get the edges here. That will certainly help, but not really giving you the maximum protection that you'd need. There is the pen holder cover coming hopefully this week. That's a $65 premium that you'll have to pay on top of this device. And speaking of the price, we're looking at that $14.99 price tag, $100 more than the asking price from last year's Surface Duo. I kind of wish Microsoft would have come in at or below last year's starting price. That's not the case, although the rationale probably would be you're getting a much better, more refined product with better hardware, and especially the processor under the hood. Now that Snapdragon 888 is a very good good processor. The numbers were good. Overall, everyday use has been good, much better than last year's processor. And it also has 5G. It also has NFC, which was missing last year. So they made pretty much improvements across the board. And I tip my hat to Microsoft in doing that. What do you think of the Surface Duo 2? Is it something you might want to pick up? A great productivity tool, especially I think for that business user that needs to multitask, email, to do web browsing, do all those things on one device that actually slips right in your pocket. Thin, light, really nice, easy to take with you on the go. Premium device at that. So please hit the like button, please subscribe, please share this video. Don't forget to leave a comment in that comment section below. Let me know how I'm doing. Let me know if there's a device or something out there you think I should review. I'll do my best to try to make that happen. Don't forget to check me out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course my website, amdtechreviews.com. So until next time, this is Andrew from AMD Tech. See ya.